Hey, welcome everybody to podcast number 61. We had some technical difficulties. Once I introduce the guests, you'll understand why. But thank God they came and joined us. We're interested to hear their stories. Just another public service announcement. Our sponsor of the month for May is All Star Bowling Sales. You can use the discount code 5PIN15. I do believe it is. We'll put a banner on the bottom of the podcast as we're going through. You'll be able to see the discount code. It saves you 15% on any of their products. And I'll run a little commercial now, and then we'll bring in the rest of the crew. Hey, welcome back, you guys. We have the Wiseman twins, Dexter and Tim, and Adam Weber. And our special guest of the evening is Mr. Robert Gallaugher. And Ziebarth. Just bear with us here, guys. I know Gino's internet is probably not the greatest. He lives even farther in the boonies than I do, so we'll try and wait for his internet to catch up with him when he's telling us a long story, and then we all fall asleep. But
that should be soon.
Gino, do you have an actual address? Do you have an address, or do you have a GPS location like Harry does?
It's just bushwhacker.
Well,
hey,
what happened to Gino?
Yes, I do have an actual address. What do you want? You mean my real home residence?
Yeah, no, I mean,
Gino, what is your address? Can you tell us in front of everybody right now?
Yeah.
Along with your visa.
Yeah, that's a social insurance number.
Not a hope in hell.
Hey, Craig.
Yes, sir.
I caught that.
Well, you can have that because there's nothing there. There's no money. I'm already broke. You can't break me.
He's interrupting me already.
What's up, Robert? What were you going to say?
I caught that shot you did at the start there about you'd see why we were having technical difficulties.
I wasn't wrong, was I?
No.
Are you guys editing him?
And I know you were referring to Gino.
No. Hey, guys, as your guest, if you haven't been watching the podcast, this is all live. So whatever you say is out in the world.
Okay, this is about an hour long, right?
About hour and a half. It depends how long Gino takes on his stories.
Okay, I got my 6-pack, and I got to try and control my Kelsey Wilton potty mouth. No guarantees, though.
Did you bring your bedpan while you're at it?
I might have to slip out and get one.
Well, welcome, guys.
Thanks for coming on.
Glad to be here.
So, what do you guys want to talk about? Obviously, COVID has been the top of the story here the last probably 3-4 months.
Ditto.
COVID sucks.
Obviously, we won't take too much time on COVID. I don't want to really drag everybody back through the mud on that. But how about we go through with your origin stories here? Robert, how did you get involved with bowling?
Well, way back, way back, I needed a job. And my aunt came to me and she said, hey, the bowling alley's looking for somebody. So I walked in the front door and Connie was behind the counter. And I said, hey, I hear you're looking for somebody to work here. She goes, can you keep score? I said, yep. She goes, you're hired. Good job. And away we went. No pun intended there.
Same goes for you, Gino. What's your origin story and how did you get into bowling?
Well, I basically kind of fell into it. What happened is the bowling center at one time was a billiards hall more so than the pool hall or the bowling for me, because my granddad used to go in and play billiards all the time. So I was in there with the old timers watching them and that. And there was a gentleman by the name of M. Long who was managing the place at the time for the Smith houses. And he kind of just got me a little bit. He had let me go and throw a few balls and stuff like that. And he got me interested in it. Then when I turned about, I guess it was last year of high school, I heard about something called the Pepsi Colas. And I thought, that'd be kind of cool. Let's try that out. So I was lucky enough to play in the Pepsi Cola, did won the zones. Then we went on to, at that time, Pepsi Colas, you played nationally on through a TV feed or through a feed, across the country, and it was just phone in. So I did well. I was lucky enough to bowl with two great players out of Camrose, and we finished third. And after that, I didn't touch a bowling ball until I got married, and it's been everything but great since then.
So what made you come back later on in life then?
Myself?
Yeah.
Basically what happened was Deb and I got married and we moved to Fort Saskatchewan, and I was trying to get involved in hockey there. And I wanted to coach kids because I love being around kids and that, but their hockey program at that time wouldn't allow you to coach unless you had a child in the program. So what happened is Deb's high school had a bowling team. One of the gentlemen on the team got sick, and they approached Deb and asked her, "Does your husband bowl?" And Deb said, "Yeah, he has." So I got asked. I went in and played, and a lady there noticed me, and she says, "How'd you like to become a master?" And I said, "What's that?" And she told me, "Well, you get to go take your master's clinics, and then you get to come back and work with kids and teach them." And I thought, that'd be great. That'd be that I could get involved with children, have some fun, and I had a great time. My first year as a master, basically their routine is you had to work with all the little kids. So I'd come in every Saturday morning, and I'd have about 20 of these little rugrats, and they'd be climbing all over me, and I just had a ball. I was probably the worst coach there ever was. I got those kids so ramped up, and then it was, I'd give them back to their parents so they could deal with them. But it was a great way for me to get introduced to the game, and I enjoyed it.
You probably taught them a few choice words too, eh?
Cockroach.
Yeah.
Never. I don't swear. I don't swear unless you're Bob.
Yeah,
Well,
he's not a
I'm not
Stetler,
very-
so
Same here.
My language.
so
Good point.
So some of you guys don't
Ask
know
Carrie about Stetler.
M Long that he speaks of. M Long is a big component of us out in Edmonton area as well. M Long was actually the one who opened up and ran Sherwood Bowl at the beginning, and his son Grady Long is our BPAA executive director. So he's in charge of all the centers out here. So that family's been along for a long time. So it's kind of neat that Gino started with M down in Wetaskiwin. That's kind of a cool story.
Grady's brother Randy used to play ball for me, and he was a pretty good bowler at one time too, way back.
Huh. Never
Oh,
met
yeah.
Randy.
He was a heck of a pitcher. He looked pretty close to Grady. Pretty good guy.
Did you take
Haven't seen him for years.
do you take money off of him like you do over Grady on elimination draws all the time?
No, just Grady. He still curses me for that, and that was like 12 years ago.
Yeah. If no, there's an inside joke. They ran an elimination draw a lot of the times at these events, and Robert convinced him that he had one of the winning tickets and sold him a bunch of losers. So he thought he was winning, and he found out he got duped. So
they were already drawn. Whoops, my bad.
So we do have a question from the audience here for Gino. Brett Henriksen is, how did you keep such a great supple head of hair, Gino? What were you using?
I would really like to know.
Well, to be honest with you, I have a younger brother that would make Dexter look like he's got a forced hair on his head, or Tim. But my younger brother, and it's just, I said my younger brother got all the money, I got the looks.
He must have got a lot of money, right, Gino?
Yeah,
What's so funny?
he must be one.
He did.
Son of a gun.
Kind of like you, Gallaugher.
What? I got lots of hair. I'm waiting for my first haircut.
It's just thin and white.
It is. It's getting thinner. Well, it gets thick. Doesn't get long. Gets thick. And when I started in the bowling business, it was black. Now it's white. See what you guys do to me?
Robert, yeah, okay.
You're a lion SOB.
You haven't had a black hair in your life.
Oh, yes, I have.
we're talking about on your body.
Oh.
Or we can talk.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, careful. We're
Moving on.
We're moving into 5 After Dark here. Let's
All right.
Too soon?
Too soon. So, Robert, you have been a big component of the Western Canadian Bowling Tour, becoming one of the gold sponsors, and we couldn't thank you enough as being a part of the tour myself. How did it feel to find out that a new event was created and you to be the namesake for it, the Gallaugher Cup?
That was, I still can't believe you guys did that. It was, because I'm sure there was a lot more guys worthy than me to have their name on that cup. But truly an honor. And, Kerry and I go back a long ways. Gino, Mark Johnstone, Eric Chose, all from the Wetaskiwin area. And we did a lot of bowling, a lot of shooting pool, a lot of playing cards together over the years, and it's been great. And excuse me, to be recognized in that high standard with all you high quality bowlers is definitely a privilege, and honored to do it, and honored to sponsor you guys. The tour is such a fantastic thing, and I just hope after this is all over, we can, because it was building up so good, and we just hope it can get back even bigger and stronger when all this crap is done. And I totally thank you guys for that honor. And last year, the first year of it, me and Shelby doing the play-by-play, we had a good time. Good time. It was a long 3.5 or whatever hours it took, but it was a great time. And I thank you all for that.
Yeah, for sure. And just to give a little bit of history lesson, Robert rambled off a bunch of players that obviously he was involved with in Wetaskiwin. I can safely say me and Mark and even Eric probably wouldn't be half the players we are today without Robert's coaching and Gino's influence being there with us through it all. And then for you to follow us after we get that success and then come along and be a major portion of that tour is kind of a neat story, and a helping hand is always needed for sure.
Yeah. And the thing was, way back when you guys were in Wetaskiwin, we had some great bowlers that just didn't keep. Yeah, we had the Albergs, we had Andersons, the Rolands, Jamie Chafee. We had some darn good bowlers, and
I know. I remember beating them.
Yeah.
Wow.
I believe we might have knocked off the national champions one year.
Yeah. Dexter wasn't on that team though.
Oh. Well, that's why. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we had some great bowlers, and even my own kids, like Kyle's still a pretty good bowler, hardly ever bowls a tall. Bowled 1/4 here a couple of years ago, still throws at 400. So, when there's so many out there, it's just like hockey and baseball. So many hockey players don't carry on. So many ball players don't carry on that have so much talent. And it's sad, but it's definitely out there, that's for sure.
Yeah. Unfortunately, life always gets in the way.
Yeah. Women and kids.
Brett Hendrickson kind of left us a note here. Who has the most WCBT titles in this group? Well, obviously, obviously that would be Gino. From what I have gathered, and Gino can correct me on this because unfortunately I don't have Manitoba Open titles or the Rose Bowl titles, but Gino had 11 WCBT titles within 10 years.
So the answer is Gino.
I think it's it would be 11 in the WCBT. I guess if you look at the majors as well. See, I kind of take these tournaments to the same way as in golf. So, we have the golf has their normal, the John Deere, whatever, and then you have the Masters and that. And I equate the WCBT titles and like Saskatoon when it was available, Winnipeg and that as a major tournament. The other ones, I think the thing is what happens is you get the best of the best at most of those tournaments as opposed to when we're playing our Open or Masters and you get to the National. You don't always have the best from every area. Obviously, those people deserve the credit when they get there and that, and take nothing away from them there. But I think when you collect 120, 250 entries in one spot and you play, I think then you would have to say you have the best of the best there pretty well. There's the odd one that can't make it, and that, no doubt about it. But as a whole, I remember in the days when Saskatoon was around, and that was a huge tournament because it was in the volumes the same as what you have in Regina and Sherwood Park now, in the 220 to 250 plus people there, and then you were getting people at that from Quebec, Ontario, and such forth coming out. So so the ones that you're missing is the one that I won in Winnipeg once, the two in Saskatoon, which weren't classified as WCBTs. So one more in Red Deer. So
two in Stettler. Maybe three.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, you know what? Not to make light of those little tournaments when you get to play them, you get to play some. I remember the one year playing in your house, Bob, in Stettler, like Lenny Ancest was there. You got Lenny, you got Kerry, you got, what do you call it?
Chose.
Evan
You-
Lecusier, all these people
you don't
there.
count me in Stetler, just so you know.
Yeah.
Hey, you threw a 400 here. Good.
The
I've
only
seen you play
highlight.
well there.
Yeah.
Gino, I do want to just list off your, we'll call them WCBT equivalents. So, Gino won the Regina Classic
Okay.
in 94, 95, 98, 2008, and 2009. He won the TPC in 2004, 2007, 2008. He won the KG Open, or the Great Western Brewhouse Jubilee Ford Open, in 2002 and 2008, and he won the traditional in 2008. And that's his 11 titles in 10 years. That doesn't include Manitoba Open, obviously.
Not bad.
The one in where you have it shown is 2008 at the KG.
Yeah.
That was at Eastview, and it was actually 2007.
Gino, how many
The
autumn
one I
opens are we
haven't
missing one
had
there?
any success at. That's the one I'm talking about. I've never had. The Autumn Open is one that I would like to win sometime.
Yeah.
I hope I still have the ability in the next few years, but you know, there's a big difference now as opposed to when I first started playing the game. You had to build your career. You had to work your way into it. The difference now is the other people like yourselves and that who are coming up in the game. You guys are so, the ability that you have is ahead of what it was when we started. When we started playing the game, we had to learn how to win. We had to learn who people were, competitors and that. The youth now, I'm not sure if we can base it because of coaching. I would say has a lot to do with it. The biggest thing is that I see youth now is that they are way more capable at the mental side of the game than it was back in the day when I first started. You know, you look at these young guys coming to play some of the, well, take yourself, Dexter, and you guys both VC program, and by the time you got to the adult side, you guys had already played a lot of high level competition, so you understood that. You know, Terry, same thing. Is by the time you got into the adult of it, your knowledge was from the fairly high level of sports that you played, like your team side of the game there, and bowling has gotten better since we've started doing coaches and that. Next, Tom Patterson's bowling school is a wonder. It was fun that I would say.
Sorry, Gino, I'm gonna have to cut you off. Just your Wi-Fi is.
I'm not sure. Adam, did you ever bowl in Saskatoon?
Yeah, he keeps cutting out, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna bump you out here for a little bit, Gino.
So I want to touch base a little bit on what Gino was saying about just about how how our youth bowlers are a lot better than they used to be.
No problem.
I just think that people like Gino out there and the Tom Pattersons and the Lynn Howells and the Bruce Mortars, for us out here, and I know Calgary had plenty down there too, right? It was a different era when they first were going up. They didn't really get a whole lot of help, right? They kind of bonded together with their peers and they kind of learned from that, right? But we were fortunate growing up that all of us here that has success on this, us four, the guys who are always on the podcast, that we had mentors and people that wanted to care about us, right? And honestly, Gino was probably one of the biggest components of that. And I think he does. I don't think he takes enough credit, or nor do his other ones, right? And I think that's the reason why there's so many high average bowlers or high caliber bowlers now, is because of those guys, right? I know personally, probably one of my favorite experiences in bowling, even though I got a silver medal, was in 2016 when Gino was down in the pit with me, right? And I can never take that memory back. I love that memory, and if it wasn't for people like Gino, I don't think we would be here, right? So have to thank Gino for that immensely. And when it comes to Paradise, I still think he can compete there. There's just a matter of time, you know. He might have to throw the ball a little bit harder instead of a girl once in a while, but you know, he might be okay there, right? But he still has a chance there, right? But
he hasn't got much time. He's pretty old.
Just remember, Tim, he has as many Sunday victories as you do. But to kind of jump on what you were saying there too, my first kind of meeting with Gino that I can actually remember, I was in near the end of my youth challenge career. So I would have been probably 17 or 18. And I think we were in Leduc, if I remember correctly. And he was the judge of play. And just to see his personal interaction with nearly every kid that was out there, and just nothing but positive words, positive vibes. Next year, I think I saw him again in maybe a cash term or something like that. And he remembered that conversation. Right. It was a genuine one-on-one conversation. That's one thing that will always stand out about Gino. I've also had him in the pit with me when I had the opportunity to beat Freddie there. That was pretty darn cool to have one of my, absolute, mentors between, Gino and Bruce, right? They were my two big Alberta mentors growing up. And I've told Gino a few times that, where I've kind of become in this particular sport, I'm chasing Gino. I'm not chasing Bruce. I've considered Gino the greatest of all time for many, many years. Absolutely no disrespect to some of the other legends that are out there. But Gino is the best. Take a look at his resume. We're talking a little bit about it right now. And he is the true GOAT of this particular sport. So wanted to thank Gino personally for all the time he's put into myself and the mentoring, and every match we've had. Absolutely loved every second of it.
Agreed.
Thanks for those kind words.
Hey, Adam. Of course, he can remember the conversation. He can remember every frame of every game since 1990.
Yeah, if you notice, they're all 16-frame games.
Yeah,
I know that.
That's why he wins a lot.
It's like it's like that kid in Kingpin.
Yeah. Sorry, buddy.
We like to poke lots of fun at Gino. He gives it back just as good.
Oh yeah.
Well, there's a group of us now working on stats for the WCBT for upcoming events and stuff. So no matter what Gino tells us, we'll have solid numbers. So better start keeping your story straight. Yeah, but you guys are all absolutely right. Well, I mean, I think Gino is the reason why Tim and I both got into the Wednesday Match League. I remember having that conversation with him at breakfast at the bowling school in Saskatoon. And it was, we were 15 years old at the time, I think. And, that league was expensive. It was like $35 a week to bowl. 15-year-old kids trying to go in and bowl into this league. And my parents didn't want a whole lot to do with it. Not that they didn't want us to play in it, but they were like looking at the financial side of it. And Gino really convinced us to play, and Gino convinced my parents that it was okay for us to play. And they were afraid of us losing money, and I was afraid of not getting, the opportunity. So Gino's influence in that aspect was massive. And then we became such good friends, and we've played. And after 15 years of knowing each other, we finally got to play together in Thunder Bay. So yeah, that wonderful experiences with you, Gino, always.
A good thing of our podcast is there is no let up in the smack talk across everybody here, Brett. There will be plenty of it. We just want to show some love to some legends in the sport and true supporters. But I'm sure you'll hear quite a bit more of the BS radar going off here. So, Gino, you're gonna have to probably keep your answers a little bit shorter because your Wi-Fi is not the greatest, and you sound like a robot to a lot of people. So,
and we only got an hour.
so who was your mentor growing up, Gino?
Ooh, well, obviously, probably I would say the closest ones that really got me going was probably Bruce Mortar, Lynn Howell, Brian Goodhope. I think Tim and Dexter will remember a conversation we had in Saskatoon, and I had all these kids in the room, and I had mentioned to them, remember, if you want to be known as good people, surround yourself with good people. And I was lucky to get in with that group of people, and they definitely molded me. There was times that I did some pretty stupid things.
Oh yeah.
And one or two of them would say something to me, and when it came from someone like Bruce, then I knew I was in the wrong place.
For sure.
So I'd say Bruce was, and then Gallaugher there, he me a lot of time cool it, and I told him where to go a lot of times. So
we had her.
he was a mentor as well.
Okay, so
yeah.
What's your favorite tournament, Gino?
Obviously, Regina.
That's fair.
I don't think anyone would say that they wouldn't also agree that the ones that you've had your most success with is your favorite one. But that being said, I have to admit, just being able to get around everybody and compete with the level that you guys are, that's what's entertaining.
Yep. So there was a question earlier from Jason Scaletta asking about the 26 strike in a row story. Could you give us a little backstory into that and keep it short, please?
Just a little backstory.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was just I played Bruce Mortar in a match, and we started out. This was back when Regina was was more like a curling tournament where you went up one side, the A side. If you lost, you dropped to the B to have your second chance. And prior to us playing Sunday, Bruce and I were roommates. We made a deal that if you throw a 450 or I throw a 450, one of us would get 25%, they get 75. So Bruce and I played the final of our 3-game match. He started with an 8 from the gun, got a corner in 9. I went 3 from the gun, cornered 4, struck out for 418. Bruce got up through the double, and then I'm not sure if he missed middle or he punched, but anyways, it ended up 418 to 408, which was really cool.
Wow, that's awesome
for me.
Yeah.
Then I played a gentleman by the name of Don Clairhue.
Yeah.
I played Don Clairhue in the next match. I ran a 450 at him. He ran a 360 at me, or 350 something. Comes off the lanes, and he's cussing. For Christ's sakes, I shoot 350 and I'm 100 down. And everybody told him, hey, Don, it doesn't matter. What do you mean it don't matter? Well, it's best 2 out of 3. So he followed up and kicked my backside the next game. He beats me 378 to 348. And then I beat him the last game 380 to whatever. But yeah, I think in 23 attempts at the middle, I only had 3 that weren't strikes. So it was fun.
No, for sure. So Robert, we're not going to leave you out of this conversation. If a lot of people don't know, Robert actually was a decent enough bowler. He held his own in the scratch division in Wetaskiwin a few years. What's your high game, Robert?
My high game is
Yeah.
408.
And what was your high average?
212, 13, something like that.
So
But
fairly respectable.
I can say I'm the only guy in Scratch League one year in Wetaskiwin that beat Gino all 4 times when I played him. I didn't beat nobody else, but I beat Gino 4 times.
I'm just shocked from being from Wetaskiwin. How do you not have a perfect game like everybody else seems to?
No kidding, eh? There was only one there. One ever thrown there.
Yeah, only one ever thrown.
That's because he moved to Statler.
When was that thrown, Robert? It was by Terry Blade.
Terry Blade in 1989.
Wow.
Yeah. We got pretty drunk that night. He was on my team.
There's only one team in Wetaskiwin.
That's true. Maybe nowadays, but no, not back then.
Social distancing before social distancing.
Yeah, that's right.
So my biggest claim to, well, I think, the biggest thing I ever done in a game was I spared 3 splits in one game.
Wow.
Really?
Wow.
I think that was against your mom and dad, Carrie. In
Never saw one.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Sean Schwartz is asking you, Robert, what was your high game last year?
Tell him to shut the hell up.
All right. Well, we're just checking.
279, maybe. Against his former mother-in-law.
I have an issue with this. There should not be one person capable of picking the comments to pop up on the bottom of this feed.
Yeah,
I feel like
picking as they're coming.
This is complete bias. It's bullshit.
This is not bias. There is. What's wrong with this question?
Bias.
What are your guys' thoughts?
Out of everybody on here, Carrie's probably the one that needs the most amount of practice right now.
I'm getting texts from people, but I can't repeat them.
Brett, Carrie was bad this year as it was. He's going to need all the practice. He's going to be our biggest customer when we can open up again.
I don't play league. I don't practice. I don't do anything. This is normal for me. So
I think
okay.
I think we need to highlight the comment is the best natural athlete. The rest of the question doesn't really matter. Gino, Cody Steer had commented on what about Mark Jackson from the Wetaskiwin area?
Oh yeah, him too. He was pretty good.
Oh,
yeah, he wasn't too bad.
Mark's a great player. No, he was a great player, but unfortunately, injuries hurt him.
Yeah, all the years working for Air Canada.
Yeah.
When I started at Western Leagues in 1985, Mark Jackson actually worked there, and him and Larry Crumpets used to bowl like 2 hours a day after Mark was done work. And Mark would get a little upset. He actually threw the ball one time, never touched the lane, and went through the back
masking unit.
It stuck in there. And then Gino came along. And then they weren't the best all the time anymore. Mark was...
I never broke anything in your house.
Who did? You never?
I never broke anything in your house.
Which house?
yeah. Are you talking about his personal residence? Or?
Yeah.
After a poker game?
He's definitely broke stuff here playing poker.
Seems to me there's a hole in your stairwell, and that was put there by who?
I don't know.
Bradford.
It was that damn Hamilton. He freaking never mind.
Well, he probably instigated it.
Oh, no doubt he did.
We got lots of questions rolling in here, so we'll do a round the table kind of thing on this. Chris Reddy is asking, what's the worst choke you've ever done in a tournament? So I'm assuming a shot you wanted back.
For me, I wish that
Who are
fly
you
didn't
asking
show
first?
up. And
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, that fly that came in, that ball for the tournament that Mike Tweedy shared again this morning against Kevin Holsworth. Had a ball for it all, and got on the lane. There was a fly that decided to go in front of me and then just kind of swarm and didn't leave. So I ended up backing off and just missed my next ball. Had a chance to add another WCBT title.
I guess I'll answer. I don't recall, I guess, a shot I wanted back. There's plenty of times where you're leading going into the last couple shots of a match and you kind of fall apart, but I don't recall one shot that really cost me the whole thing.
I want most of my shots back now.
We're talking about bowling, Robert, not alcohol.
Hey,
No, hey, Robert tastes them back in the morning. He gets a double deuce right there.
that's right.
For if you're thinking about like choke jobs or balls you want back, I don't think I have one either, to be honest with you. Like, I've had situations where I would want them back, obviously. I think for me, the biggest one that really upset me the most was 2015 Open qualifying. I was sitting like third going into that day, and then I don't think I had a game higher than 230 in my own house. And it was 10 games of it. And I think if Adam remembers correctly,
It was tough.
I think it was game 6. I started 5 straight plows, and it is not like me. I lofted a ball, hit the shield, and just pushed reset, and I walked away. And if I could take that back, I think Robert was there, actually, to be honest with you.
I think I was.
You were, yeah. Maybe you're the problem, but if I could take that back, I would in a heartbeat, because obviously I learned a lot from it. But it was my own house playing, and provincials are in my own house, right? And I just that's the moment I probably would take back. Or try to redo it.
You just couldn't find rhythm that entire day. It was
absolutely. I've never been that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. So
actually, I did come up with one. One that I definitely should mention was after it was open qualifying singles. I defeated Gary Baird in a high score match, 330 to 290 or whatever it was, and then I came up against Adam, and I threw 2 sets of aces, a couple splits, right? Yeah, it was rough, and the worst part about it too is I don't know how Adam feels about it, but he wasn't throwing the ball very good. He was missing, was picking up sticks, but he was always a mark and a half ahead of me, and I just couldn't put a double together or put 2 marks together to try and catch him. So that is obviously coming off a high after beating Gary in such a well-scoring match, and then coming up against Adam. Don't know if it's jitters for the first chance at a provincial title. As a single, or what it was. Adam, what was your thoughts kind of going through that match, if you remember it at all anyways?
I remember I started pretty strong, but maybe you struggled to start. You had that first set of aces. I think you went like spare plow aces or something like that. And I think I started spare double corner, spare triple, something like that. And then I plowed on it. Then every single time you'd go up there, throw a strike, and then strike, open. So you had the opportunity to throw the double, put some heat on me, but never could capitalize on the second one. So my score didn't look very good. It was only like 250 or 240 or something like that. But I was, like I said, I was always a frame and a half ahead. Yeah, so you get tons of matches like that, though, right? If you're chasing, you're always going to be pushing, just the way it is.
For me, I personally try not to remember the shots. The only one that like really sticks out with me, and that's a personal choice. I've got a terrible memory for stats and stuff like that, anyways. Because after it's done, I don't really care at that point. But I remember there was a TPC. We were a couple rounds, maybe I think it was like the 3rd round in TPC. I was facing Michael Cusi, and I was up a bit. and it was coming down to the line, and I had pretty much solid control of the match. And then in the 9th frame, I believe I went 3-5 dash, and I think I ended up losing that match by like 3. So I really like that frame back. Tim, I can't believe you didn't like mention the 2010 match in Winnipeg, because this was hilarious.
No, because so we still won, so it's not.
Yeah, no, we still won, but you went double and 10, and then you
okay. I'll tell the story. So because it's me here, okay? So I don't want anybody to bastardize the freaking story, okay? So 2010 in Winnipeg, we're bowling, and I'm up there, and I played really well. Like once again, I still like to thank John Stone for taking away my All-Stars by fluking out. But I was there, and when we did it, we played well at Dakota. I was averaging about 280 plus that day, the first day, and then we played Saint Vital. And if everybody played Saint Vital out there, I know Brett, who's following, has been there. It had pink lanes and it had the Guardian lanes with pink arrows, and so you're playing Dakota free fall, good synthetic, great approaches, and then you're playing Saint Vital that was sticky and heavy, and the ball moved a million boards and was brutal, right? So we're playing there, and I'm struggling. I'm averaging like 240 there, but I mean, my team is really good. So Lynn's like, I want to put you in. I was like, Lynn, I'm not very good. Like, no, I'm going to put you in. I have confidence in you. And excuse my language, but like, I was like, holy fuck. Like, I want to choke here. We're coming back against Newfoundland, and he puts me in the anchor spot. And I'm like, so I'm struggling, and you're throwing me in the anchor spot. So he goes in there, and I throw a double and 10, like to win the match. I think maybe to win total. And I was like, yes. I was like, perfect, right? Won total, went up. All I had to do is get a 5 count. I ripped the right 3-pin, and I just walked out of the center. And so I was like, that was the bit. I came back, went through everything, and it was like $180 I shot. We together on, but not even like a game later. Brett Mapstone's in there. He comes off the bench. He's struggling.
Okay. This is where I'll jump in on the story. Yeah. So Brett comes in off the bench. He throws a double and 10, and we've been joking about Tim ripping that 3-pin the entire time. And I said, just don't rip a 3-pin. And then he ripped the left 3-pin and then walked out of the building. It was to tie, so he ripped the left 3-pin to tie, but he literally ripped the left 3-pin, didn't say a word to us, walked like off the other lane, and then straight out the doors and outside. God.
Speaking of those kind of moments, I mean, I think Gino still has the longest thrown bowling ball in record history, right?
Yeah.
Down the freeway, down Highway 2, down in Medicine Hat, and I still remember that fondly.
Yeah.
I think that was Highway 1, was it not?
Highway 1, yeah, whatever.
That was one of the ones that I was going to say that I regret. And it wasn't so much that I threw the ball, and it wasn't so much that I had to chase the ball, but it was Remo, like, the way he buzzed me when I came in. He zinged me so bad. It was so funny. And I have to admit, he endeared himself to me quite a bit. I really thought he was one of the coolest guys in the game.
Didn't you?
But there was that one, and then the other one. My second one would be in Regina when I went over the foul line. I was Brad Mowens, and he ended up winning that and winning both the A and B side through that. But yeah, that one will always stick with me because I thought I had a chance to get my 6th win there.
Didn't you throw a ball on the parking lot, Chinook, too, Gino? Jumped up and hit a
At what?
At outside Chinook?
No.
No?
That was Panorama. He hit himself first, and he threw the ball.
Yeah, he bounced it off the concrete first, and it bounced up, hit him in the shin, pissed him off, so he threw it harder the other direction.
No, that's not the story. I came out of the bowling center, and I was fuming. And I looked out, and at the end of the parking lot, I saw about 1.5-foot barricade. And I thought, well, I'm going to throw that thing. And I threw it, and about 1 foot in front of it, it hit a rock, and it went over. Down the hill, down the highway. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, I better chase that one down. So, yeah,
Uh-oh.
not proud of that one.
Everybody go.
And it gets mentioned.
This is just a reference for all those people that Gino had mentioned the Regina sticking over the line. This was
yeah.
the outline that was drawn after.
There was some CPR needed to bring him back to life.
Yeah.
They didn't give me a chalk outline though.
Do you have the
Gino.
picture of Brad Moens over me?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Well, do you have the picture of Brad Moens standing over it with his hand in his fist?
Yeah.
That was
You mean
pretty
this-
cool.
you mean this-
I got a lot of respect for that kid.
There you go.
Hey, Gino, which went further, the ball down the highway or your tire on the way to Lethbridge that one year?
Oh,
My tire. And the worst of that was I almost got killed. The dog almost chewed me apart. Yeah. Yeah, the tire down the highway was bad
That
too.
was crazy.
Yeah, fun times. So I'll tell the story, Gino, a little bit since I was in the vehicle. Gino gets this brand new,
Oh, yes.
or not brand new, sorry, secondhand, new to Gino, Ford Explorer Sport Track.
Yep. It
Pretty
was a
nice.
year old.
Yeah. And we're traveling down the highway. We pick up a couple players down in Red Deer on our way down to Lethbridge. And we get to Calgary and we get on the Deerfoot and you feel a wobble or whatever. And that's the Deerfoot for you. It's always a little shaky. And we get to the other side of Calgary, just about the Okotoks, and all of a sudden the left front driver tire pops off, hops across the highway, through the Meridian, up across the other side of the highway. This is Highway 1, biggest highway in Alberta, or Highway 2, and goes into Farmer's Field on the other side. Like, absolutely insane. Unreal.
did you have
Yeah.
to go potty, Tim?
That was the day
I
to
had to
remember.
pee.
Good hustle, Timmy.
Yeah.
Did you wash?
Yeah.
Supposed to be washing our hands these days.
That was the day to remember.
Good hustle, Timmy. Yeah.
Got some feedback there.
Whoops.
That's great.
All right. So Gino, we'll keep on this train of thought for you. Hall of Fame induction for 2020. You and Adam, I do believe, were in the class of 2020. Have you heard any updates? How did it feel to be up for induction? All that good stuff.
I haven't heard anything since. As far as being inducted, it was truly an honor. And the three guys that I get to go into, Adam being one of them, and the other two guys are really close friends of mine, Doug Musdell and Dougie McCaw, as far as competitors. And then the gentleman, Don Sim, who got inducted, Don and I have been friends for the last 25, 30 years, and he's just a superb gentleman. So I'm quite proud to be inducted with these guys and be in with this total group. And I think the other three, Doug and Adam, would agree with me. It's a pretty cool honor that we're the four guys with Bruce Mortar as far as male competitors, and the ladies that are there, well, they all deserved it, and it's just great to be inducted with that type of class.
Adam, I guess you can expand on that too.
Yeah, it's incredible honor, like Gino's mentioned, and I know we've had a chance to talk about this on a couple of previous podcasts, but being able to go in with those three legends, so four, I guess, including Don as well, it's yeah, it's mind blowing to at least have that opportunity within our sport. Saddened somewhat that we wouldn't be able to have that completed this year at the Open Nationals, especially for Gino and Dougie. Myself, it wasn't a huge deal. Not being there, there'll be another time for it. But yeah, it's really tough to put into words. So I know when I first got the call, I was kind of against myself being honored this early in the career, kind of where I believe my game is currently in the career. The more I think about it now, right? It's just such an incredible honor. But it really hit me once the obviously the whole COVID, and we started talking about the potential of either delaying the Open or now in the cancellation of the Open. And what's the next step? I haven't heard anything on it. I'm assuming it will be probably the future Open Nationals whenever that is. But once I got that cancellation, because I knew I was going either way, either as a competitor or in that fashion. And I got pretty saddened by it. So I'm sure the other guys probably were as well.
Yeah, I think it's an incredible feat, you guys. I mean, I think Gino hit it right on correctly when he said only four guys or five guys are in now, and that's five of the top. And I think it's quite something. I don't know. Adam, I haven't heard anything about the Hall of Fame thing yet, but I assume you're probably correct. They'll probably be carried forward on it. I really enjoyed the Hall of Fame stuff that came out. To me, I think that the coolest thing I saw about the Hall of Fame thing was Dougie McCaw's fist pump jump when he threw that perfect game or whatever it was, that old school photo. I thought that was cool. But I think you guys definitely deserve to be in there. And obviously, I'm biased. I'm proud Albertan, and I'm proud that you guys represented us for so many great years, right? So it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. So we'll obviously.
I think
go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to mention meeting Wasdell with all of his health issues and he came back and showed what a great athlete he was and great competitor. I always equate Doug Wasdell with Bruce Mortar because they are two gentlemen that are just about, they always say we have a duplicate somewhere in the universe. Well, I always said Doug Wasdell was the BC Bruce Mortar, and Bruce Mortar was the Alberta Doug Wasdell, and they're just two great people.
It was really neat seeing Doug and Bruce and Lynn all get together last year at Nationals, and just to see the pure happiness on their faces, just so happy to see each other. It was really neat. They hardly left each other's side the entire weekend. I mean, Lynn was different because he was with us, but I mean, just every lunch and every evening, it was awesome. Super cool.
Yeah. Be able to see both those guys in the champions room afterwards as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, it was pretty special being able to have a couple really nice conversations. Mm-hmm. Two of the absolute best.
Yes. So a couple more questions here for our special guests. What's in your arsenal, Gino? What are your bowling balls? What are your bowling shoes?
Well, I've always played Dexter's. I have, as far as bowling balls, I have pretty well. I throw mostly just the Pro Rubber. I have one soft roll, and the only reason why I have that in my bag is because it was the first one that came out, and I happened to win a set when I won TPC over at Collingwood when it was out, and so I carry one of them, and I have my little 4 3/4 inch Pro Rubber, my little green ones, which I was lucky enough to throw 2 of my perfect games with. And I basically threw those after I shattered my arm. So I had something I could get a little more zip on the ball at them.
Have you found a ball recently that can get you more zip on your ball?
Yeah, you got to drive to the
no,
line.
But I'm working on a new style.
17 steps?
Drive to the line? No. But I have changed.
Gino,
We'll
actually,
try it.
so
tell us.
We're talking about your arsenal right now, right? And I really want to know what kind of underwear do you wear that makes you pick it every time?
Yeah,
The leg shake.
Yeah.
Time to move on from the Hanes.
So, with relation to that, can you guys never tell me that you don't have any nervous tension? That's just a way just to relax.
Tim gets his through his elbow.
It's got to be a habit.
That's right.
Yeah.
Tim feels all that
Tim's
energy go to
come
his
through his
elbow.
elbow.
Gino
Whatever
feels it all go
it
to.
Whatever it takes.
Hey, Robert, and now what's your arsenal?
Hey, you know what? I knew you were going to ask me this, so I actually had to go look today. For shoes, I have the 9s, and bowling balls, I have 2 urethane, and the other 2 are the Pro 72s.
Okay.
Pro Rubber.
Yeah.
And none of them work. I own about 60, and none of them work.
Yeah. It's always the bowling ball's fault.
Yeah, it's totally the balls.
Yeah. This may not apply to you so much, Robert, but obviously I do want your take on it as a proprietor, as somebody that's involved in the WCBT and the youth bowling and stuff like that. But Gino, do you have a bucket list item that you want to accomplish before you retire out of the sport?
Paradise.
Obviously, one is to win the Autumn Open. That definitely would be another one. To be honest with you, I think I've accomplished pretty well most what I want. But that being said, the Autumn Open, and I'd love to win another WCBT. Simple as that. I think we all play to enjoy the game, but if you aren't playing to win, you might not be there. That's my opinion.
Agreed. Brett Hendrickson thinks your bucket list item should be to attend a nationals in Winnipeg.
Well, in 30 some years, that's one place I've never played a national. I think I've been to 27 and never in Winnipeg.
That's unreal.
Gino,
But
yeah.
Who would want to play there in July for Masters? All you got is mosquitoes and horseflies. Mm-hmm. And then if you play the Open, it's usually too friggin' windy and cold.
Yeah. Gino, Mark brought up a good point. I was going to ask you. You never been a Masters single. Is that part of your bucket list?
Yeah, I would like to do that, but that would be another one. But like I say, I think if I was looking at any of them, the Autumn Open is the one that I definitely would like to be able to achieve. There's been so many great guys that have won there, and it's quite a historic tournament. So,
great. So Robert, same question to you. What's your bucket list item as a proprietor or a sponsor, or to be involved in all this? Is there anything that you want to accomplish before you hang up the proprietor's hat or the sponsorship
Pack
hat?
it in. Because you never know what day that's going to be. So, first of all, bowling. I still bowl in the Masters. I did last year because I got a knee done. But I'll be back at her this year, so hopefully get into that teaching Masters, provincial, nationals would be great. I missed by 90 pins the last time I was at provincials, so that sucked. But as a proprietor, I just want to get this darn sport back on TV, and I don't know how. We got to find a Canadian company that is willing to step up.
Do you have any like connections with KFC or anything like that might be able to help out?
I have a few. But they already sponsor too much crap. Like wrestling.
KFC sponsors wrestling?
Yeah, isn't that sad?
What's wrong with wrestling?
Well, now
that's good to know.
It sucks.
It's the only thing that's been on the last 2 months.
Yeah, that's true.
It's equally as greasy.
That's a good one. No, just get some more kids involved and get the kids out there and we're doing that. We're getting built up here a bit, or we were anyway. So hopefully that continues and other than that, just carry on and get back at this sooner than later. Did Gino pass out?
He just can't hear you.
He looks like he's going to fight somebody.
Why would I pass out?
Thought you were having a nap.
It's about that time.
It's getting pretty late for you.
Danny Gombach.
I warrant you that not one of you can outlast me.
Sure glad he cut out there.
Yeah. Once again, a 5-pin after dark thing we don't need to talk about. Danny Gombach kind of chimed in here. Gino's way too good of a team player to even worry about singles for Masters. I totally agree. Being on a couple national gold medal teams with Gino, I totally understand. He is one of the best team players by far. Way better than Tim Wiseman. I will guarantee that, because at least Gino tries.
Whoa.
I have 2 golds with Tim. So
Shots fired.
You know what? I'm only good as my leader, and I was a rookie that year, so fuck you.
We're going to have to start putting an R rating on this thing.
I'm going to put my knife on my back.
Hey.
Yeah, but
Jesus.
That's pretty good.
I can't believe you went there. Oh, my God.
Yes, you can.
You knew it was coming. Come on.
I don't believe you. It's all good. I sucked. Yeah.
The one time we've been on a team together.
You know. Honestly, though, I can do a test as Gino's never been to Winnipeg. Don't go to Winnipeg. You bowl bad there. That's what I've heard.
That's what Tim said.
So Gino's just missing out.
So yeah, what else do you guys want to talk about? We got some time. What's happening? What else is going on? Do we want to bring up the whole COVID thing? Robert, I know you have a small 8-lane house in a small community.
It's going to be a 2-lane.
Well,
actually, right now, I have an oversized rec room. It's all I got. So if anybody wants to come play my rec room, come ahead.
We still have some questions in there. I like the one from Valentino earlier on. What is the shot you've thrown that you remember most? Good or bad? Question is for everybody.
3 splits in a game.
There we go.
That's all I got.
I definitely have one. My I still call it my career shot. 2007 Sudbury Open Singles. Ended up playing. Who did I end up playing?
Mike Warren.
Mike Warren was the final. I can't remember who I played. Oh, it was Buddha.
Rene Godin.
Rene Godin ended up beating him in the 2-3 match. and then ended up playing against Mike Warren. The end of the first game, I'm down. I think I'm down 29 going into the final frame, so I need the strike spare or whatnot. Ended up throwing a chop off my first ball, and if anybody knew me back in that time frame, I could never spare a chop off. My mind was so messed up with it. Somehow barely hit it inside to get the spare, and then threw a shot that I don't even remember. The first time I ever felt zoned. But ended up throwing an absolute bomb. Ended up beating him the first match. Then I think I crushed him like 330, 190 or something in the final match for my first ever title. So that was my career shot even to this day.
For me, I'm going to say it was TPC 2010, the year that I won there. I faced Johnny 3 times. I think that's one of the rare occasions that's ever happened. But lost to Johnny in the B-side final, and I was running both sides, so I had to face him in the final. We got through the first 2 games, and it was coming down to the end, and I had a little bit of a lead, and I remember throwing the strike a 9. It was a really good shot, a strike a 9, and that was enough. But the only reason why I knew it was enough is because I could hear it was dead silent in the entire place. And I could hear Lynn Howell in the background say, he said, that's a championship winning ball. And then that's when I knew that I won. And then there was noise in the background. And yeah, that's definitely the ball I remember most for sure.
Oh, I guess I can go. I have 2, I guess. 2 that I'm sorry, but I have 2. One is obviously
greedy.
Throw the 11th in the 11th frame. I threw the strike to beat Mark Miller. And again, like I always said with the Autumn Open, that 420 to 405. I never was playing to win. I was playing just to move up the ladder, and that's. I can tell you right now, I would have probably choked and not thrown a 420 if I was aiming for the win. But I think my proudest moment, was 2016. Everything was super tight with the master singles as it is. And I never made anything ever in singles in my life. Like I never got a medal or anything like that. And we were playing at Willowbrook. And I remember playing Trevor Cook from Manitoba. And Trevor's a phenomenal player. How it worked out is it could have been a 4-way tie to come in for 3rd. So I didn't know how that was going to work out, because 1st and 2nd is already locked with Jeff Stevens and Kevin Clark, and there could be a 4-way tie for that spot. And Trevor pounced on me pretty good at the beginning. I think he started like 4-bagger corner spur strike or something like that, and I finished like 8-bagger, and I beat him by 5. And the strike in 12 when I threw it, like obviously you're a little nervous, but that strike in 12 I banged out to win and to make a singles. And at that point, yeah. I got a silver, but that bronze or whatever I was going to get meant more of the world to me than anything. So for me to do that, I was pretty proud of myself.
That was just about a Gino story. Had some legs to it.
Kerry?
Sorry, Timmy.
I couldn't tell you if there was one shot or yeah, no, I don't believe there's one shot that I can remember that was just trying to think. Playing in Regina, my win in Regina probably would be my career highlight, besides the gold medal on the 100-year anniversary. That was pretty cool, but that was a big team thing. As a singles player, I think winning in Regina, but unfortunately it didn't come down to one shot because I came up against Jeff Hibner, and he had just shot close to 1,100 his match before to get to the finals to play me. And he was throwing nothing but bombs. He would release the ball and he would point right away and yell. He knew it was a strike out of his hand almost every time. And then the one time he did it, he flagged the head pin. And then after that, he never recovered. He started throwing splits. He was all over the place. And the match was over pretty early in the third game. So unfortunately, I just don't have that one shot that you can remember. But definitely one of my highlights of my career and something I'll cherish for a long time. And I hope Regina's destroyed the picture because the hat I was wearing was 6 times too big for my head and my collar was crooked and it's one of the worst pictures ever. Thank God for the CBT and tour shirts. Gino?
Well, I probably can't remember one specific shot that, because to me, they're all important at one time or another. I think I would have to say there's been situations that mean more to me than anything. One was when I was fortunate enough to throw the 26 strikes in a row. At that time, there was a young man that came down to the pit there watching. And this wasn't when I threw the 26, pardon me. This was when I won Regina the second time. But this young boy sitting on the edge of the ledge looks up at me, and I just kind of look over at him. I go up, I throw my double. All of a sudden, he's got one leg up on the bench and crawling on. I look at him, says, come on over. So he crawled up and he sat beside me. He was probably 4 or 5 at the time. All of a sudden, I hear this scream from down on the other end. Taylor, get out of the pit and quit bothering Gino. And I looked over at Doug and I said, don't worry about it, Doug. He's my lucky charm. And he was. Yeah, I managed to win after that. That was one. And probably one that I will never forget was in the year I won my singles in Hamilton. I had the opportunity to watch 6 really good friends of mine out of Edmonton win the gold as a team. And then I was playing again, Doug McCaw, great friend of mine. And I think it was about the 7th frame. And it was just about over, but I had started out really well. And I get up and I punch a 3-pin. And I go up and I'm standing there, I go up to spare it and I throw the ball. And I leave the easy 2, take the hard 2. All of a sudden, Bruce and the guys from the Edmonton team start cheering, Gino, Gino. And before I knew it, the whole crowd was doing it. And to have all your peers cheering like that for you behind it, I gotta admit, when I went to pick that 2-pin, I was just about a blithering idiot, cheers. So those are 2 really special moments that I'll never forget. And the other one was in Gatineau. We played in Gatineau, and I was on a 4-bagger from the gun, and I told the guys, I'm going to throw a perfect game. Next frame I get up, the ball slips out of my hand, and I hit a 2-pin. 28 lanes, 32 lanes long. Before I turned around and came off the lanes, the people down on lane 1, and I was probably on 32, knew Gino threw a 2-pin. Mortar and Hal, they were out there, and that's where this pass the deuce came to me. And I'll never forget what they pulled. Mortar was one of the biggest pranksters I met, and I was usually the biggest brunt of it. But those are memories I'll always cherish.
So we do have a question here from Brett Hendrickson, and let's try and mix this question up a little bit because I don't want everybody picking the same players. But it's like if you're making a mixed team to take on others in a huge cash tournament, so it's a big mixed tournament, you get to pick yourself 2 other ladies, 2 ladies and 2 other men. You can pick anybody all time. Who are your picks?
Simple for me, and it's all Alberta. Myself, Bruce, Gino, Jen Marshall, Smith, and Jennifer Baker.
It's pretty close.
Well, then what's yours, Tim?
Well, I started writing down the same one.
Well,
I got there
everybody's going to
first.
pick the same players. Let's mix this up.
Okay, I'll come last. I'm working on this right now. Okay, you know what? We can't pick the same players.
Let's say no. You can't pick the same players.
Can't pick any of the same players?
No, none of the same players.
Okay,
Sorry,
I'll go
boys.
next. I'll go next.
Okay, sure.
Oh, you picked Baker already, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, actually, no, I got this.
Okay, no. I'll go Carey.
Why?
In his prime, anyways.
Fair.
2017.
I'll pick Tom Stevenson. So two guys that I haven't got to play with that I would have loved to have played with at some point. So Carey, Tom, Diane, and I'll go with Megan Gallaugher. I feel like that's a pretty solid team.
Okay,
Only carrying the prime though, not carry now.
I'll
Well,
go
that's fair.
next, and these are going to be some.
Okay, go ahead, Gino.
I'll go next, and I have some very obscure names for you.
Thank you for helping me out.
I would pick Curtis Deering
Oh man, so
Good
as
name.
one.
I was going to pick him.
I would pick a gentleman that I played with a long time ago in CBCs, and a good friend of mine. Well, no, actually, I'd pick Rob Shannis as number 2
Damn.
for my men. For the ladies, I would take probably there was a lady that was out of Ontario that I'm not sure if any of you guys would know, but her last name was Listy. She was unbelievable. She was the Diane Violini of Ontario, Claudia Listy. She's the one that when you saw the poster with the ball in her hand and the look, she was phenomenal. And my second lady, let's see. That's a tough one. I'm trying to remember her name. Was a young lady out of Saskatchewan. Anyway, I can't remember her name, but those are the four that I would pick. They were, Curtis was phenomenal when he was younger, and I think he's someone that we really miss in the game. So.
Yep, agreed.
My turn.
Oh, hang on a second here.
No.
I got to run to the bar.
Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Let me go. You know what? Screw you, Robert.
No, my turn.
No, Robert, you can't.
Yeah, Robert, you go. You're the guest.
Guess first, Tim.
Go
Guess
ahead,
first.
Robert.
Settle back, Timmy. Okay, I'm going to take people you're not going to take anyway. I'm going to take Eric Chose, brother Brian Gallaugher, my aunt Judy Grindy, and let's throw in Shauna Lesney. There you go.
Pulling in some viewership there, Rob, with some family picks. I like it.
We're not-
I like it.
We're not going to win a lot, but we'll have fun.
I love it. Okay, Timmy, go ahead.
All right. Since Adam took some of mine and Dexter took some of mine, I know that he's having a Facebook hiatus and nobody's really missing him but Mitch Davies. I think Mitch honestly is one of the best competitors out there. He's on YouTube, so hey Mitch, no one misses you, but you're part of my list. Obviously,
He's still on Instagram too.
and Snapchat. Yeah, he's just one of those guys looking for attention. Yeah. Obviously, Karen Armstrong. Honestly, I have the utmost respect for her, and again, like there's generational players, I believe, and you watch somebody like a Jen Smith that doesn't step down from anybody, right? And I feel the same way with Karen. So I definitely have the utmost respect for her. Growing up, Obviously, we can't use the same names.
No, you can't. So stop
No, I'm
bringing
not.
it up.
Listen, no, let me finish this here. Who's actually was really I got to know her over when I grew up, and she obviously moved away, was Tracy Smith. I think Tracy would just be phenomenal to play with. And not because I like Curtis, but I like Tracy a lot more. And
Nobody likes Curtis.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, they kind of go together, but unfortunately, yeah. And finally, honestly, it's going to be off. I've played with him once in a Baker's, and I've won 3 golds. He hasn't won anything, so maybe I'm good luck. But Mike Warren, I think I can. I think I can maybe give him a little bit of help. And
Team second place. Team
sorry,
team.
you know what? Honestly, so when I lost to Kevin Clark in Nationals in BC, and everybody's packing up their stuff, all I hear is "Welcome to the club, Tim," and Mike Warren walked out.
That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are the ones in like our generation that I bowl with. That's actually a good call there, Brian, what you wrote down there. That's pretty cool. I don't know any of them except for Fraser. So, but yeah, no, that's just something that we I think it's be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's a lot of players, people that we are not picking that clearly should be picked.
So many good players.
But these are just ones that pop in our head. I'm not going to pick anybody from the cast, but I do thank Dexter for picking me while I was in my prime. I do appreciate it.
Had to stipulate.
But I'm going to pick John Stone in his prime, Matt Schultz,
Yeah,
Sandy Anderson, and Danielle Leffler.
Danielle. I like it.
That's a good group. And Carrie, the other lady I was thinking from Saskatchewan, I couldn't remember her last name. She's married now, but when I knew her, it was Alyssa Spark. She had, they really suited. Yeah, she was phenomenal.
Yeah, so I guess if people want to comment in the chat or after the video is posted, post your teams. We know there's lots of people we missed, and it's not that we wouldn't pick them. It just didn't pop in our head while we were thinking about it because I put the clock on everybody and I made Timmy pick random. So
all the pressure.
Maybe that'll be the post this week.
Yeah, there we go. I like that.
Well, it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to pick because there's so many good players. Like there's guys that have been in and out of the game, like Kevin in his prime but he and I saw him in Red Deer. He's tenacious, he's charisma, he's a little bit of a pain in the ass, but he's a great player.
There's tons, guys. Like Robbie Shannis, we left out. There's
Gino took Robbie.
Oh yeah, never mind. Sorry, I was trying to think of my team while Gino was picking.
No, I picked Rob. Yep.
All right. So we're gonna wrap up the podcast here. I know there's lots more we can talk about, guys. Gino and Robert, you're more than welcome to stay after. We usually chat for a little bit after the podcast. But I just want to thank you guys again for joining us. And
can I say something before?
Of course you can, Gino. As long as your Wi-Fi doesn't go out, you can say whatever you want.
Type it out, yeah.
Well, if it goes out, it goes out. But I just have 2 things I want to say. I wish there would have been a group like you guys. When I first started this game, you guys have done immensely in exposing our sport. And you brought a lot of the youth into the game because of the way you guys have developed things. Last but not least, I'd like to thank Bob and the other proprietors for everything they do. You know, we're very fortunate. This sport is a great sport. We can't make a living by it, but we sure as hell can have one hell of a time. So thanks for all of that, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Agreed.
Thanks again, Robert. Thanks, Gino.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I just want to thank all you guys too. You guys make a guy feel welcome all the time, and it's fun being around you. It's fun watching you perform. It's a pleasure for sure.
And Gino, I wanted to thank you for being one of the few people that take longer on the lanes than I do.
Bullshit, Adam. Not even close.
And that's where we're going to end the podcast.
Not,
Thanks,
not when he
guys.
comes back.